Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I've got such a juicy interview with the Perez Hilton, and he has a new book coming out, which I read, and we touch on some of the juicy history topics of my favorite times. And he has so much insight, and he dropped so much juice that wasn't even in the book. So that's coming in a second. But I just wanted to tell you guys I'm excited. I'm coming to Tempe Improv in Arizona. I will be there October 29th and 30th. I'm going to have some special surprises that as soon as I get confirmation, I will announce. But it's only one show a night and it is at limited capacity. So if you want to come, I really say go to heathermcdonald.net today and get your tickets. It will sell out. And it's going to be fun since I haven't been on stage. And if you saw my special, which I hope you did, it will be completely different and new material. And if you want to see my special, that you go to heathermcdonald.net. You can see it there too, but it is at Amazon Video Direct. It's doing great. Thank you for all the reviews. Get a laugh, bring your husband. You know it. Real Housewives of Potomac, you guys. I mean, this is a show you got to be watching. They're doing everything I love. They're being honest. They're being real. They're breaking the fourth wall. They're talking about stuff. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I've watched it throughout, but this is by far the juiciest season. We have this new girl here, Wendy, and she's a pretty smart cookie. And she is a lawyer, but she also goes on like CNN and everything. And at first she got a little mad about things and was a little crazy, but in last night's episode, it was she did very well. What happened was Karen, who's the grande dame, she has her own perfume. She decided to have a sit down with all the girls except for Candace. And this is Candace. Candace and Monique is who we talked about last week, who got in the wildest fight on the show I've ever seen. Blows away anything I've ever seen on a Real Housewives show. It was very, very bad. Monique started to flip her hair, got pissed that, in her opinion, Candace was in her face. And she then grabbed Candace's hair and would not let go. There were literally 5 people trying to get her to let go. She didn't. Then when they settled her down, we're seeing all the producers get involved, which is my favorite stuff, when the producers like have to drop their camera and run and like break up a fight. Then they thought they had calmed her down. She got away from the one male producer and ran around the barn, running full speed ahead to try to get to Candace before Candace got in the car and left so that she could beat her ass once again. All caught on camera. So Karen has the sit down last night. And Giselle right here shows up and she brings her own bodyguard. And the bodyguard sits behind her. And Karen's like, okay, really? We're bringing a bodyguard, you know? Karen had gotten some Le Pen pastries and stuff, and she just thought it was going to be a nice sit down. She's like, yeah, that's how I feel comfortable, you know? And Monique shows up and she looks real cute. She has jeans on, a pretty blouse, and she comes in, she's like, I want to apologize. I feel terrible about what happened. I'm really embarrassed. And Wendy goes, are you embarrassed or are you remorseful? Because I'm hearing that you're not remorseful. And she wasn't. She goes, no, I'm not remorseful. Like, she's still trying to say, like, Candace got in my face. I don't like how I reacted. But hey, if you're going to get in my face, and this is how I do, So that was pretty disturbing. And mostly all the women were like, we're Black women. We're on a show. What I liked about it is they were like, hey, we're on a show. They're breaking the fourth wall. This is going to be on the show. This is going to be a huge part of the show. And as Black women, this is a stereotype that we've had to deal with and we absolutely don't want. And you, by putting your hands on Candace in such a violent way, it's going to make us all look bad. And now we're all embarrassed to be on a show with this kind of violence. Karen's trying to save it. She's like, I think Monique's great. And basically Giselle's like, well, I don't want anything to do with you. And I don't want to be on the show with someone like you. So she's vying to get her fired. And even Monique said that was one of the things that pissed her off, that, she felt that Candace was kind of taunting her and trying to get her fired. And she goes, so now I guess maybe I am. I don't know. A lot of the fight came over a live podcast, now that I'm thinking about it. Because Candace was supposed to be on Monique's live podcast. Candace they got in an argument at her lake house and left her high and dry. So the heat up was trying to sell these fucking live tickets for this podcast, not the Lazy Moms podcast, which we looked up and I don't think it ever took place. So one thing that Giselle said was, I can't be around this, craziness because my ex-husband and I have a reputation. He is like a major pastor. And I just find it, I would love to hear from someone who goes to her ex-husband, soon to be husband again's church. Like, is he that dynamic of a speaker? How much do you get from a job like that as like being a pastor of a mega church? And, she's out. She wrote a book about how he cheated on her. Her father was just mic'd saying he doesn't want Giselle to get back together with him, even though they have 3 daughters together, because he has 6 to 7 other baby mamas and too many other kids to count. And she's in love with him and wants to get remarried to him. Even her girls are like not excited about it. Oh, and he also gave the girls a restaurant. He bought some restaurant and then the girls are going to work there at 12. I don't know. It was weird. I just am curious about that. Really that your reputation is now going to be tarnished somehow. Anyway, so keep watching. Meanwhile, Ashley goes to therapy with her cheating Australian husband who was caught, seen in his underwear in a hotel room in which he said he fell asleep. He took off all his clothes and fell asleep next to a woman, never touched her, but just was so tired he fell asleep. And then when he woke up in his underwear, she took a photo of it, but nothing happened because he was so drunk he fell asleep. But he just didn't want to wear his nice clothes and wrinkle them for Ashley when she came back from the lake house. So they go to therapy and he's like, well, yeah, I cheated because, you haven't been sexually available to me in the last couple months since she gave birth to her kid who looks just like him and is 3 months old. Oh, sorry, I haven't, I haven't dying to hop on your Australian dick the last 3 months while I'm breastfeeding. Awful. Anyway, she's pregnant again in real life. So she obviously stayed with him. They worked it out. So watch it. Everybody, I've got a great Patreon this Friday, patreon.com/juicyscoop about, everything that's going on and my personal life. You know how good it is. Thank you for telling everyone. And now for a real juicy interview with Perez Hilton. Hey, I am very excited to be talking to Perez Hilton, who has his new book out, as you can see here. TMI, My Life in Scandal. Very juicy, very fun. How are you, Perez?
I am very yin and yang right now. I am both wonderful and awful at the same time. But before I get to the whys, I have to just give a shout out to one of your most loyal listeners and one of my best friends, Mike Snediger,
yes,
who loves your show. And I just love that he helped make this possible. So thank you to Mike.
Yes, I loved that he wrote me and I'm like, I'm already on it. I already got the book. We scheduled it. So yes, I'm thrilled. Let's get into some of the stuff. So I'm probably about 3/4 through.
Okay.
And, it really, there's so much that I love about it. People know Perez Hilton. What's exciting is that you were really one of the first bloggers that you had 8 million people going to your site every day to get their news. And when I was on Chelsea lately, I was checking that all the time for hot topics because we came up with these hot topics. So I remember, there wasn't many sources, and that was the hottest, like, to get the quickest thing. You weren't going to wait for People Magazine or Us Weekly. No. You're going to go to Perez Hilton. And
I have a bone to pick, though.
Yes,
recently,
please do.
Paris Hilton has been doing the rounds promoting this new documentary of hers. And she, in interviews, is repeatedly calling herself the original influencer. I'm like, no, sweetie. You were born an heiress, became a socialite, then transitioned to TV star doing reality. You are not the original influencer. I am. my entire career is owed to social media and non-traditional media. I had to work for everything. I was born to Cuban immigrants. Nothing was ever given to me, and I paved the way. There was no TMZ when I started back in 2004. I gave them the idea.
But you did choose your name, Perez Hilton, as an ode to this budding starlight who was on the cover of Page Six every day and New York Magazine or whatever, Paris Hilton, who you do talk about in the book, that you guys became friendly. She was very smart to make you her friend so that you would write about her in a positive way. And we've all been there, where, you know, it's a fine line, like how close you want to get to some people, because you also want to be really honest. If you don't like, for me, if I don't like a former guest behavior on the, you know, upcoming season of Real Housewives, I got to be honest about it. And if it means you don't come on my show again after that, oh well, you know. So but it's hard if you really become friends with someone and you're really on the phone hanging out. It does become difficult, and you found yourself in that predicament with some of the biggest stars from the 2000s on, Paris being one of them. And you said you used to hang out at her house. And one thing I thought interesting that I didn't really know is that you said she was a big stoner. I
know. Oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble. I don't care.
It's in the book.
No, I know. I'm about to get in trouble because I'm about to pull the rug out from underneath this new documentary of hers that I just mentioned.
Well, I watched it, and I one thing I was going to say is we never see her talking about pot or edibles or anything. So
it's so fake. It's just another act. This is whom she wants us to believe she is. That Paris Hilton that we saw on the documentary, which is actually her third documentary that she's ever done about herself, possibly the fourth. I know at least she's done two others. She is all of those things, but she's not really that, you know? She didn't allow herself to be seen for whom she really is. She showed glimpses of that and aspects of who she is, but knowing her for 15 years, that's not who she is. But one thing that I will say about her is she's a nice person. She's not a mean, nasty biatch.
Right.
There are a lot of those in this industry, and she's not one. Neither is Kim Kardashian. Nobody that's ever worked with Kim will say she's a miserable see you next Tuesday, you know? And back in the day when I began hanging out with Paris, people used to tell me all the time, she's just using you for publicity. She's just using you so you don't write negative things about her. And I wish back then I could tell them, duh, I know that. I'm not an idiot, and I'm using her right back.
Right.
But like you mentioned, it is difficult if you want to do what we do and be truthful, because even though I changed back in 2010 how I talk about celebrities, I don't give people the nasty nicknames anymore. I don't doodle on the photos, inappropriate things. I do try to be not cruel, but just by having an opinion that could upset people. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, celebrities, actors, reality stars, musicians, they have big egos. They're fragile people. They just want to be loved by everybody. So something as simple as saying you don't like somebody's new song, they'll get upset. Like, I didn't say I hate you. I just said I don't like that song. Or like, oh my God, I was in Vegas with my friend Mike, and JLO, I love.
Yes.
Don't you love? Who does not love JLO?
I mean, she is, to me, the most beautiful. I love her. I always talk about the most gorgeous, the best style, the most delightful. I've met her like 3 or 4 times. She remembers who I am. No bad things to say. So you're in Vegas.
Exactly.
What happened? Yes.
I love her, and I've been so public with my adoration of JLo. And this is where my podcast co-host thinks I'm crazy, okay? And I am, but that's, I think, what makes me me. I'm crazy. So I go see the Vegas JLO show when she had her residency. And that same weekend, it just so happened, I also went to go see Mariah Carey in concert in Vegas. So then when it came time to do my podcast and I was talking about my weekend in Vegas, naturally, I saw both shows the same weekend. I compared them.
Yes.
That's what you do. And I said that I liked the Mariah show better. And because I got a meet and greet with JLo, they took me backstage to meet her. Her manager was so pissed that I would say I like the Mariah Carey show better. I wasn't dissing JLo. I just was giving my opinion on the show. That's what I do. I still love the woman.
Well,
So,
I would say...
yes, you're probably going to say my co-host.
If you got backstage,
If
I was in your position, which hopefully one day I will be in your position where I get invited to 2 great shows. I've been to the Mariah show. Unfortunately, I never got to go to JLo's show. However, I would have loved to. If I was in that position, I would have said, you really got to go to both. This one was more jazzy. Of course, Mariah has the gorgeous voice. Both had great interaction with their audience. You could have still given juicy scoop from each without saying, if you're going to choose one, because no one asked you. If your co-host, maybe your co-host asked you, but I would have been like, don't ask me to choose one. Because then you are going to get in trouble. Yeah.
I'm an oversharer. I don't know. I felt like I had to say that.
Well, one thing, speaking of concerts that I loved in the book is that you said you got to go to Madonna's concert. And you went. You're, of course,
that was in Vegas. Also, I've had many
Madonna.
great memories in Vegas.
And then you did your review, and you said, "I loved it. Played the guitar a little too much." Now I remember the tour you're talking about because she did play the guitar a little too much. We're like, we got it. You learned how to play guitar this summer. It's almost like your kid. You're like, I got it. Okay. It's like, can you just go back to Holiday? All right. Because this is just killing me right now. And what I love about Madonna is that she then invited you back, had you sit in the front row, and then pointed you out. What did she say? Tell us what you said.
So, I made a video review of the show, and I said, I love the show, but I didn't like that she played guitar so much. So she invited me back, sat me in the front row, and the very next day during the concert said, my friend Perez is in the audience, and he thinks I play guitar in my show too much. And then she goes, deal with it, baby. And then dedicated the song Miles Away to me. And I was losing my mind, crapping myself, because Madonna continues to be my biggest inspiration in life. And, she's somebody else like JLo, whom especially if I love somebody, I think it's important to be honest with them and to be objective. You can't live with your head in the clouds. I am a fan and a hardcore fan of many people, but I'm not a stan. I won't just love anything and everything that people do. If you do something that I think warrants being called out, I will. And painful as it is for me to say, our Madonna has been a little bit out there lately.
What do you think's going on with her weird videos and stuff?
I think that she has just been Madonna for so long that she's lost all concept of reality and humanity. She's just, for decades now, been surrounded by yes people, and nobody will tell her the truth. Nobody will stand up to her. Nobody will confront her. And she likes that.
When she wore that outfit where her ass was just out, it was like, I get that every single person on Instagram has their ass cheeks out, but you don't have to. You're Madonna. It's just, come on. I don't know. Yeah, exactly it. She doesn't have someone that's like, no, I I don't know that I would post that, Madge. Right.
But she's still Madonna,
Yeah.
and it's just frustrating to me because I love my divas, and I look at somebody like Celine Dion, and I think as the years have gone on, she's done an exceptional job of not just maintaining her legacy, but improving upon it. Whereas Madonna still has her legacy, but she's been tarnishing it with everything she says and does, and the controversial remarks about COVID and just everything. It's like, but you know what? To me, she's like family, and I will love her forever. And you can get into a disagreement with your mom or your sister, your aunt, or your cousin, and to me, family is family forever.
Well, let me ask this before I forget, because then I'm going to get into more stuff on the book. Wasn't there something, because I remember I was, Chelsea Lately started in 2007, summer of 2007, and we had experts like you on. Did you come on the show ever, or didn't?
Oh,
or
yeah,
then you
a bunch of times.
And then did you and Chelsea, I just remember.
We got into a bunch of fights, too.
What was the main thing? It wasn't that you reported something about her that really pissed her off?
Yes, a couple of things.
Okay,
Back in the day, when I was a See You Next Tuesday myself.
Okay.
There were two things that probably got to her. One, I don't even remember exactly what it was, but there was this big rumor going around about her being a hermaphrodite, or do you remember that story, or something about her? I don't remember the exact detail. Do you remember what it was?
I think you wrote something about a rumor that she had some plastic surgery done down there.
Oh yes, she had some kind of yes. I don't remember what it was. I don't. It's such a what.
I don't know. I just remember that was the thing, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
What it was, or if it was true or not, or who cares. But I think back then it was, even a bigger. Now people talk about it. They show the surgery happening on the reality show if they get something done down there, and it's no big deal because they want to get it for free. How many times do we have to see that on reality TV? But then it was it pissed her off.
But I think that was real. That's the thing.
I can't say. I don't know. So I think that was the main thing that pissed her off.
Well, and also they just changed the whole concept. The beginning of Chelsea Lately, they had experts, and then it turned into just comedians.
Just comics, right, which is what, because I was on it. So we used to have two comics and an expert, and then we just made it all comics. So, it wasn't necessarily a diss to necessarily you, but I do remember her being pissed about that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that too.
Speaking about people that got pissed off at you, the Lady Gaga story throughout the book is really amazing and something I was not aware of. I was not aware that you got her music and play. I wasn't aware that you had launched so many music careers on your PerezHilton.com site and made people aware, because there was no, almost like the way TikTok, how now you go, God, that's a TikTok song, and it actually becomes popular on TikTok before you hear it on Kiss FM or whatever. I almost feel that's sort of similar to what you were doing for people.
Yeah, I've always loved music, and maybe I could show you. I'm in my bedroom, and I have a bunch of platinum plaques here that were gifted to me by some of the biggest artists on the planet.
Oh, wow.
We've got the Jonas Brothers. Remember them?
So they gave it to you as a thank you for really exposing the world to their music.
Yeah, here we got the Ting Tings. Above them is Eric Hutchinson, a Lady Gaga plaque here, a Justin Bieber one there, Taylor Swift behind me, Iconopop, and then perhaps my two favorite ones behind me are my British girls, Amy Winehouse and Adele. Both sent me platinum plaques.
Amazing.
With Gaga, by 2008, when she was getting ready to release music on a major label, I had already established myself as a huge fan of music and a cheerleader.
Right.
Somebody that helped a lot of artists get attention. So her manager reached out to me and said, "We would love for you to listen to this girl. We think you'll like it." And I said, "Okay, sure." And I listened to it, and instantly, I loved the music. I mean, the first time I heard Just Dance and Poker Face, I knew those were hits. And the first time I ever posted about Lady Gaga on my website, I remember that first post. I said, "This girl reminds me of Madonna." Flash forward to 2020, we've had our falling out, whatever. At the end of the day, I could still take pride in knowing that I saw something in her before almost anybody else, and that I really helped her. She said it herself repeatedly at the beginning of her career. The thing that happened, and it's happened multiple times, not just with her, it's the only time, though, that I had such a public falling out, but I was also friends with Adele. I was also friends with Katy Perry. I was also friends with Amy Winehouse. And it wasn't just, okay, wow, these women now have a hit or are successful. They became mega stars. And I was Perez Hilton. So that made a friendship really difficult. And now that I have kids, I barely even have time to see my friends that I knew before I was Perez.
Yeah.
It's, well, especially now in the middle of a pandemic.
No, wait, do you have two kids? You have three kids.
Three.
So how old is the youngest?
The youngest one is when this airs, she just turned 3.
So you have,
and then I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. So
and the
7, 5, and
5
3.
5-year-old is a boy?
A girl. So it's 2 girls and a boy. The boy is the oldest.
Oh, the boy's the oldest. Okay. That's amazing. And you get a little into that in the book. And now I know you don't want to you're kind of like, I want to sort of keep it private, but I just had a couple questions, and if not, we can cut it out.
Oh, I'll talk about everything. What are you talking about?
Well, I didn't know because you were talking about how you chose the donor. There's the donor, obviously, because you need an egg. So there's the donor egg, and then there's the woman who carries the baby. Those were 2 different people?
Yes.
Okay, so with the donor then, are they all from the same donor woman? Like they all are 100% siblings?
Yes.
So that's wonderful. So you were able to get lots of embryos out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because I had never been through the process before, so I wasn't familiar with how difficult it actually can be to get pregnant, even with the help of science.
Right.
Especially because the first time with my son, boom, pregnant right away. But then the subsequent pregnancies with my daughters, it took multiple attempts each time. In fact, with my middle child, it took the 4th try before getting pregnant. And with 2 different surrogates, I was like, wow, I may only have one. That's why they say every baby is a miracle, because it's not that easy sometimes to get pregnant and to have a baby, or to get the amount of eggs to turn into embryos that you need, and then to have the embryos be viable. But what's fascinating to me about that process is I got assisted through this surrogacy agency, and if you wanted, they gave you the option of buying out your egg donor.
Right. They do that with sperm too. Yeah.
Which I did not want because, and oh my God, some traditional listeners now may start to ruffle and just disagree with me.
Right.
I believe that a brother or a sister or a mother or a father isn't DNA. Meaning, this woman who I did not buy her out could have donated her eggs to hundreds of gay couples. She probably didn't, but in all possibility, my son and daughter daughters might have hundreds of
I don't know
people with
about
similar
hundreds
DNA.
because there's a limited amount of eggs versus sperm. So I don't think there could be hundreds, but could there be maybe 5 or 6?
Could be dozens.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
more than 5 or 6, because they give these women fertility drugs so that they ovulate more. Yeah. It's very involved. I'm so thankful to everybody.
Yeah.
It's involved from the egg donor. It's involved from the surrogate.
And
what's also shocking,
Go ahead.
they don't even make that much money. The agency and their lawyer and the fertility clinic and all that crap, they make all the money. The surrogate and the egg donor don't even get that much.
Right.
Like, I think the surrogate who carried a child for 9 months got what, $20,000? Which, I mean, maybe for some people that's a lot of money, but to carry a baby, I think give her more. And the whole process, about every child was close to $250,000.
Yeah.
That's
wow.
A lot of money.
And do you think your family is complete, or do you still want to try to have another?
Nothing in this world makes me happier than being a dad and my children. If I had Kardashian money, I would have more. a fourth and final, or maybe a fifth and final. No need for more than 5. But I don't have FU money in the bank. I talk about it in the book. I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. And not only did I make a lot of mistakes in terms of spending too much, but like an idiot, I did a lot of illegal things, and I got sued a lot, from posting paparazzi photos that I wasn't paying for, to leaking music from Britney Spears, to posting a topless photo of Jennifer Aniston from a movie, and then freaking Warner Brothers sued me.
And how did you get out of all those lawsuits?
I had to pay. It's like none of them ended up going to court.
So you had to settle.
Like most,
yeah.
Exactly. And I ended up wasting millions of dollars in legal bills and settlements.
Wow.
And when I was young, like, what I love about the book is I think it's a really honest look at that period of time, also my upbringing, and at myself. I've been doing what I do now for 16 years, since 2004. I feel blessed and thankful that I'm still here. I'm truly grateful to be chatting with you now and being able to talk to your listeners. I don't take anything for granted. And it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy to me that...
Yeah, let's talk about some of the regrets, because I thought that I love it. I love that you say that, because I say that too. I hate when people say, I have no regrets. Like I give 0 fucks. I'm doing my Erica Jane. No, you don't. Everybody gives fucks. Everyone cares. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, and you wouldn't care about putting on makeup and walking around if you really gave 0 fucks. So shut up. You're a hypocrite. Not that she is, but I'm saying,
I have a lot of regrets.
No, but yeah. And I think I think you're also not being honest if you say, I have no regrets in life. Having regrets and sharing your regrets to be a warning to somebody else is a really wonderful thing to do. And some of the things
I think it's honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about being honest. Like, not only do I regret wasting money and spending too much and just being an idiot and doing all of those things, more so than that, because, like, when you're making money, you think you're going to get more money. So at the time, I didn't care. I regret that people were genuinely hurt. And I would actually say that most people probably won't believe me when I say this, but I'm so sincere. If I could go back in time and do things differently, I would, for many reasons. One is it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. I don't want to have bad juju, negative karma out there. And not only is it the right thing to do, in hindsight now, it's the right thing to do for other people and for myself, because I am still now paying the price for mistakes that I made in my past. I am suffering still in this day and age the consequences of things that I said and did and wrote.
Give me an example.
For example, I constantly have, like, many to most people are not willing to forgive me, and that's fine. They're not willing to let me grow. They're not willing to see me as something other than that person from 2007 or 2008. They want to keep me in the past like a prison cell, and I've accepted that. That's okay. I am hopeful that enough time passing by could change that. Or, Heather, and this is a little depressing, you know what also would cure everything? Incredible success. Meaning, if all of a sudden God or the universe or whatever, or luck, blessed me with a TV show, and not just any TV show, a hit TV show. If all of a sudden I was on a hit sitcom or a hit talk show or a hit reality show, whatever, that everybody loved and everybody watched, success of that magnitude absolves you of all sin, and people forgive and forget everything. And it would definitely make my dating life easier if that were to happen. Gay men hate me. I've accepted that as well. And I know that I deserve, it's because of my own actions, and I used to out people, and I regret that. And I also got into fights with their diva friends, diva people that they admire, and they're gonna be on Lady Gaga's side or Demi Lovato's side or Miley Cyrus's side.
Let's just get into the Lady Gaga story as one of them I'd like to touch on, because I thought it was so interesting. So you blow her up, you meet, you get her to, do a concert for free in Vegas, which is great PR. And of course, she was smart enough to do that and to be thrilled to do it. There, she gets chosen to open up for Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block. And then you're going along, and now at this time, you are getting a lot of TV opportunities. You're guest hosting, you're guest judging on Miss America. You're doing the ball drop on MTV for all these things that I wasn't even aware that you had that many. So you're in the hot, and what you're saying is true. Like for everybody, when you're in it, and it just seems like it's never going to end. It just seems like I can start turning down shit because it's fucking, are you kidding me? Like, it's so great. And then once you've been through that once and it hasn't, and you come around the second time, which kind of you are now in this place, when the opportunities come again, you'll treat them very differently.
Absolutely.
So you were doing an interview talk show, basically, right? And and she was your guest, and you're excited to see her. And tell a little bit about the weird awkwardness that now happened. Now she's a huge star, and she comes to do your interview.
So when you're an A+ lister, and maybe even some B-listers, I don't know, depending on who you are and how highly you think of yourself and what kind of a publicist you have, but big stars, it is not uncommon for them to only agree to do an interview if they know what questions you're going to ask ahead of time. But because Gaga and I were friends, I didn't have to submit a list of questions to her publicist beforehand. So it wasn't just a traditional interview show that we were doing. We wanted to create moments and have segments and have it really be a fun experience. So I thought cooking with Gaga and Perez would be a good idea. We were down in Australia, and we both began filming the same day that we arrived in Australia. So we both probably had jet lag, and we were cooking and drinking. And it started off with just wine, and she brought a bottle of Jameson, which I don't drink. She switched from wine to Jameson.
Oh, I'm going to barf just thinking about it. Yeah.
I know. So she was mixing her liquor, jet lagged, and then started to drink a lot. And there was just a point in the interview where it just got uncomfortable because she just didn't want to. She just got so drunk at that point and didn't want to talk. And I don't think I asked anything inappropriate. Like, I was her friend and biggest defender. So at the time, she'd released this song called Judas, which got a little bit of controversy, or maybe a good amount of controversy. And I asked her about that reaction and if she thought it was warranted. And she didn't really want to talk about it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I asked, if her boyfriend was able to help her and be supportive during that moment. And the fact that I even asked about her boyfriend just set her off because, how dare you ask about my boyfriend? Blah, blah, blah. So then she just stormed off.
Or, and the thing is, like, you might not know that they might have been going through a really tough time too, like at that time, and she just didn't know how to react. But go on.
And okay, I get it. That happens, You get into disagreements with friends and family. To me, the even more hurtful thing was it wasn't just that one day with her being really drunk and who knows what else. If she, because she's talked about pills and drugs and blah, blah, blah during that era. She talked about it on Stern, and she's talked about it a few times. I only saw her drink a lot. Mm-hmm. Then we were all in Australia, me and the TV crew that had all flown from Los Angeles, and she refused to film. It was hurtful as both a friend and a professional as well. Because she really thought I was out to get her. And I'm like, what? What are you talking? I wasn't out to get, like, it wasn't any gotcha moment. I'm not trying to make you look bad. Like, it was more than a friend. I used to call her my wife. And now with hindsight.
So when that happened, when that was going on, so did you not have her personal digits, or you couldn't call her, or you didn't feel comfortable calling? Okay.
Oh, she wouldn't even get on the phone with me. Her manager had to basically, like a baby, like a child, force her to get on the phone with me and him, and then he could mediate a conversation with him because she wasn't answering my phone calls or texts. Like, she was just ghosting me. And it was just shocking to me because, like I said, I used to call her my wife. It was more than just a friendship. Like, we would talk on the phone and text every day. I would travel the world with her. We were inseparable for years. It wasn't just a few months. We were inseparable from 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2011. That's almost 4 years. And then eventually she agreed to finish filming, but then things were just never the same after that. And I have so many thoughts about it all. You know, for a few years after that incident, my initial thought, which I still believe is true, is hurt and betrayal and sadness because I was her friend before she was anybody.
Right.
And I would have still been her friend even if she had never been successful. But it is obvious to me that she was just using me. She befriended me like Paris Hilton did all of those years ago to get something out of me. And then when she became this huge superstar and didn't need me anymore, she just cast me aside. And that hurt. But now in 2020, it's been close to a decade, 9 years since all that drama went down. I just have a lot of empathy and compassion for her because, like you said, it's like not even guessing. She was going through so much then, from drinking and drugging to even if she wasn't drinking and drugging, to just being that famous,
like, that quick. I think sometimes people, all of a sudden, it's so amazing, but it's like a trust thing. Like all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe who can I trust, and what does this person want? And then you have the super fans and the stands in your ear, and what do you call that other word where I can't remember, but you like the actual word for stands. What is that word? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Fans?
Sycophant.
Sycophants, yes.
You have those people around you, and but I thought it was crazy then that the miscommunication series of events, when 2 years later, when you're looking for an apartment and you have a whole day of showings with a realtor and you end up looking at a place in a building, and some Gaga fan sees you looking at the place and tweets to her, Perez Hilton is outside of your building stalking you, and she believes it and puts out a tweet about it. I mean, that I thought was, what a crazy story.
I mean, and it's so funny too. I remember that day so well. I went to see close to 10 apartments. It was a tour all over Manhattan. And I was about to start yoga and I had a private session in my rental. I was staying at a corporate housing and I just couldn't stop crying and I couldn't do yoga. And my yoga teacher, instead of doing yoga with me, ended up giving me like Reiki and a massage. And yeah, I did look at a place there and I looked at a place at other places. I had no idea where she freaking lived. And to accuse me of stalking her, like, deluded. But like I said, that was also a difficult time for her. That was 2013, and that's when she was releasing that Applause, or I forget the name of the album, Applause or whatever. I hope and I think that now she's at a different place in her life. But, it just happens.
Yeah.
Some people in show business are very loyal.
Yeah.
Adele still works with everybody that was part of her team when she began. Katy Perry still works with the same people on her team that she's had the whole time. Justin Bieber, same situation. Gaga doesn't work with anybody that was part of that original team. Her original manager, gone. Her original Troy Carter, gone. Her original A&R guy, Martin Kirstenbaum, gone. Her original stylist, gone. Her original creative director, Matt Williams, gone. Her original choreographer, Lady Gaga, Lorianne Gibson, gone. She had falling outs with all of these people. So I also have learned not to take it personally.
No.
It wasn't about me. It was about her.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I forgive her. And I hope that she can forgive me. I hope she can come to a place to understand or know or believe that I really wasn't out to get her. I genuinely loved her.
And I thought it was just interesting is that you put in there that on her rise, that she thought that Christina Aguilera was stealing her sound on her album.
And her look as well.
And wanted you to feature that in your blog. And I just thought that was ironic because, of course, she's been accused of stealing Madonna's sound, and it's pretty undeniable. There's certain songs that are, very Madonna-esque, and even you said the first time you heard her, you said, I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that someone's, any less talented. It just means like, hey,
you're inspired by her.
Right, yes. But I just thought that was pretty fun. So did you watch Star is Born?
No.
So that would have been too difficult.
But I did listen to the soundtrack and thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just didn't watch the movie because it's not my kind of movie. I don't like romance movies. Like, I've never seen The Notebook. That's not my kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like superhero movies or fantasy movies or action films.
So let's get into Britney, because you were, this was what I like to call like juicy scoop history. This was the time where the paparazzi were there. This is barefoot going to gas stations for all of her meals. Sad. We now realize it's sad, but you couldn't get enough of it because it was like, what now? The shaving of the head at the Tarzana hair salon, the umbrella, the kids, so what are your thoughts now looking back at it and what's going on with her now?
Well, I have a lot of regret with a lot of my coverage. I've already apologized publicly, and I will continue to apologize to Britney and anybody else that I have hurt in the past. I'm not going to pull a Kevin Hart moment. I don't care if I've already apologized. I will continue to apologize. At the beginning, when things started to unravel with Britney, and I think a lot of people just thought, oh, she's just doing a lot of drugs. She's just wilding out. It wasn't apparent to me and many at first that there were mental health issues at play.
Right.
And then when that did become apparent, I think it changed everything. I think it's a very sad situation to her fans to not ever really be able to know what's the truth. Nobody really knows what's going on there except for Britney and her family. And all that I can do is wish her well and hopefully pray that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, meaning this conservatorship that she is, according to her own lawyer, a part of voluntarily. That was part of a legal document recently. Her lawyer said that Britney is choosing to be a part of this conservatorship, which I thought was interesting. The conservatorship has to present information at least once a year to the courts, and it's reviewed by a judge, and a ton of independent observers, experts, doctors, legal people, judges have been looking at this and determining if it really is being done fairly, accurately, correctly for her best interests. And I don't know. I'm not a cynic. And to me, family is everything. Sure, her family dynamic is complicated because her entire family, maybe with the exception of her sister, everybody else is living off of Britney.
Well,
even her brother, I
think.
Didn't
she just give the sister from, Jamie, who I always say Zoe 101, didn't she just give her some play in it that like she's also in charge of something?
She's not yes, sort of. She's a trustee of her estate, but she's not part of the conservatorship.
Got it.
That's just legal jungo, legal mumbo jumbo. I'm sure you have an estate.
Yeah.
If people have been blessed to do well in life, they'll set up an estate to protect their assets and their children, and so that whenever they were to pass, if unfortunately they were to die tragically soon, their wishes are carried out and blah, blah, blah. Like, my kids, if I were to die, not that I have a ton of money saved, but whatever I have in the bank, you'll only be able to get it when you turn this age, and then you can get some more at that age and whatever it is. So you need people to execute your wishes. Britney's sister is that for her, but she's not a part of the conservatorship. And neither is her dad at the moment. Her dad was removed as the conservator last year. Now it's this independent woman who is not related to Britney. But yeah, in the history,
think maybe she does want it though, because she had the horrible Sam Lufty, which you mentioned in your book, who was her manager during that awful time, and how he just clung on to her and found her. What are your thoughts on that guy?
He did the same thing to Courtney Love afterwards, and now he's got a restraining order out against him from Courtney. He's a sketchy person. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get me or you in any kind of legal trouble. But yeah, I could say somebody's sketchy. That's not defaming them, right? Sketchy is an appropriate legal word.
Well, I think people
it's vague enough.
I think people are just sort of confused about how they met, where he came from. It's not like he, was employed by CAA or something. He kind of came out of nowhere to manage her. So I think, people, it was during a very tumultuous time of her life, the most.
What people forget is that during that period of time, Britney was so vulnerable and alone, completely alone. She didn't have, I don't know why, but her family was not with her at that period of time. I think she probably didn't want her family with her.
Right.
She was with Sam Lutfi. She was no longer working with her previous manager, Larry Rudolph, that she now works with again. And people were able to infiltrate her life, not just Sam Lutfi, but those that used to read my website back in the day. Remember, she used to have this girl in her life that we used to call Cousin Allie.
Oh, yes.
That wasn't even her real cousin. It was just another person like Sam that weaseled her way into her life. I remember everything of that era. Like Britney would go out every day and do something different, something wild, something crazy. If you Google the stories, like she would one day just randomly show up at a random hotel and then wouldn't have enough money and would ask people for money or just start partying with strangers and just, it was unprecedented. And the celebrity culture was so different back then too. Now, because of Instagram and social media, it's really changed the game so much. But in 2007, Los Angeles was littered with paparazzi. There were so many, and they still exist, but there's a lot less than there used to be back in 2007. And just Britney alone, every single day, she would have, and I kid you not, can we curse on your podcast?
Yes.
I shit you not, every day she would have a minimum of 18, 20 paparazzi following her, which makes no sense because you're all taking the same photo. You're all devaluing each other, but they would all follow her. It'd be a caravan of people in their cars following her every day. And oftentimes she would get out of her house by herself, not go anywhere except just drive for hours at a time in her car and just drive. And at the end of all of that craziness, before she ended up getting hospitalized and seeking the help that she needed, things got so bad and crazy that the paparazzi started following her in a helicopter. And not only the paparazzi, if you remember, and I remember, the mainstream news started covering Britney Spears on the daily as if it was a huge political story. And it wasn't then just the paparazzi helicopter. Some of the it was multiple helicopters following Britney. The local news stations, their weather helicopter, they started using that to follow Britney Spears around. It was just unlike anything we've ever seen before. And I think the reason for that is because it was all happening at this time where social media really was being born. Twitter started around then, and my website had already been big and established, and a ton of copycats came along, and it was like the wild, wild west. And all the other girls started to do things to compete and to get attention.
You mean
I mean, if
like
you remember back in
with like the you mean with Lindsay and the crotch
all of
shot,
them, yeah.
the famous what was the deal with no one wearing underwear? What is your theory with that? Let me remind
they
people
all
that
wanted that photo. Yeah.
So everyone had to get their cooch perfect, and then they would choose to wear like a mini dress, and knowing that if they stepped out of the car, because I was taught I went to like this little John Robert Powers modeling class school when I was 12, and they said you keep your legs together and you swing your legs out and then you get up so that you don't have a crotch shot. Well, they just full leg out, full crotch shot, and I was like, and do you think that was complete deliberate?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think of the sex tape era of life?
I don't think much of it because many people attribute Kim Kardashian's success to her sex tape, but I don't because I lived it. And I know that actually Paris Hilton is responsible for Kim Kardashian's success, not the sex tape. Because if Kim had not before that been basically adopted by Paris Hilton. I don't know why Paris did this, but she made Kim her BFF and they were inseparable. They started to get photographed everywhere. Kim used to take her all over the world. They would travel together. They were part of pop culture moments that were on.
I kind of remember what sort of happened. It was Paris.
Oh, do tell.
So Paris and Nicole Richie, which we found out later, they weren't best friends when Simple Life started. They kind of like figured it out who could be Paris's friend for this show, and then now we know that it was very scripted and acting like they don't know how to do anything. They had a falling out, and I knew Kris Jenner at that point, and I remember going to a lunch with a bunch of women and Kris after shopping at her baby store because I had babies in Calabasas. It's called Smooched. And we go to the Italian place in the Calabasas Commons. And she says, Kris goes, I have the most exciting news. Kim has become very good friends with Paris. And Paris said, you are my new best friend. And
God, I love it.
And they just.
It was like a business arrangement.
She goes, they
almost.
She goes, and they just filmed this scene where Paris thought one of her chihuahuas was pregnant, and Kim said, let's go get pregnancy tests and get the chihuahua to pee on the stick to see if the chihuahua was pregnant. And the producers just thought that was so, funny of Kim that now that she might be joining, Paris in a new show. And I remember going, oh, I didn't even know Kim wanted to be on TV, because at that time, my interaction with Kim was she was a fashionista. They were opening up a store. I knew that she was in talks to do like a celebrity closet. She was always super organized. All the girls have that ridiculous organizational gene where it's like everything is the same. I go from light beige to, now here are all my tall boots, and I was always just mesmerized by that. But that's the way Kris is. So she was going to do a show on the Style Network, which was like E's little half sister that didn't last, and where she'd go in and do so she had done like a pilot for that, and so or she was maybe that happened after, but it was all around that time, and I think you're right in that all these seeds, and so when I defend her fame too about the sex tape, because I'm like, the show at E was already in the works when that sex tape got exposed.
But the show at E probably would not have happened if Paris did not raise her profile.
Well, of course. How do you think how did they think they even knew about Kim and her fun family and her fun sense of humor with the Chihuahua? Is because Paris exposed her to all these people, and and I get it, because it was like, on the documentary they said Kim, Paris Hilton's formal assistant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense, because when you're Paris Hilton, you need an assistant, but why not have a fun friend that's pretty and you get along with, who's a delight, who's good with fashion, who's your friend, and that's trustworthy. So I think their friendship was truly genuine, and it's sweet to see them now friendly again.
Reconnect.
Yeah.
But Kim did learn so much from Paris. Like, not just the sex tape. Kim also saw Paris do what she did with me. Paris was friends and still is friends with so many of the people that used to work at Us Weekly or People, and would directly talk to them.
Right.
Some celebrities would say, oh, hit up my publicist to schedule something or blah, blah, blah. Paris would have that direct connection. And she would also have that direct connection with the paparazzi, which is something that Kim Kardashian would do too. And you know what's funny is that Kim Kardashian still sets up paparazzi photos. You would think she wouldn't, because she's now an A-lister and has eclipsed Paris Hilton in fame, but she will still, not often, but, you know, I remember like the most recent time it happened, the most recent time it happened was just to promote her whatever fashion thing she was doing. So she used the paparazzi to promote her fashion. But before that, she went on vacation somewhere and she had the paparazzi meet her on vacation so that whatever beach photos were released, they were approved by her and photoshopped and not like unflattering or whatever.
Right.
But I like Kim, and I don't have a bad thing to say about her. I think it's important to say that as well.
Well, you had a little regret there. So,
yes.
So she put you in her app, that fun app, which I don't know if it exists anymore.
Kim Kardashian's Hollywood.
Exist?
I don't think
it's.
I don't think so.
That was kind of like an era of like, and for people that they would go, and the whole thing was how to make it in Hollywood. So you'd go to the hot spots, and then you would go meet, the famous blogger Perez Hilton, and you were featured in it. And then one day you just woke up and did what?
I said earlier that I'm a little crazy, and by a little crazy, I mean a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the reasons why I've been successful, because I'll just do crazy things that aren't very well thought out. So it happened in August of 2015, and around that time, it was Kylie Jenner's birthday. And I think she was turning 18, and it was such a big to-do about Kylie Jenner turning 18. And I had started to follow Kylie Jenner on Instagram, and it just did not make me feel good. I was like, why am I following Kylie Jenner on Instagram? I don't like her. What is she adding to my life? Is she bringing me joy? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's just like she was getting all this attention, and it was all about the lips and this and that. And I just thought it'd be smart and clever and a fun idea to do a 1 week break from all things Kardashian. I called it the Kardashian cleanse.
With a K. Which is
with
clever.
A K.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was just silly and fun and cute. I didn't think it was nasty, mean, cruel, or hurtful.
Right.
I didn't do it with the intention of hurting them. But obviously now I think Kim probably saw it differently, like, or just as a betrayal. She probably saw
as
it.
like a little like F you, like, oh my God, what is, I put you in the thing. I thought we were friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was just playful and silly. Like it's and only getting them more publicity
you're gonna be
too.
You're gonna be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and my Kardashian cleanse was only going to get them more press. I thought we would both win from it, but yeah, she then decided to take me out of her game, but it's fine. I had cashed my check before then.
Okay, so that's good. I thought another really juicy thing that I've got to ask you about is John Mayer. Mm-hmm. So, Jessica Simpson dated John Mayer, and a lot of people really enjoyed her book. I read it as well. It was very honest, very juicy. And
it was honest.
And I just, she was a virgin when she married her husband, and then she got with John Mayer, and seems like it was a very sexual relationship. And your story in here is very juicy. So you're at a nightclub, and Jessica.
It was New Year's Eve.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you tell it.
I got to applaud Jessica for being as forthcoming in her book as she was,
yes.
because I'm very forthcoming in my book, and I had been working on mine before she had even announced hers. And in my book, I mentioned that she was a big boozer. So it surprised me and also made me happy to hear from her when she came out with her book that she admitted to that, and also that she's now sober and hasn't drank in a few years. So it was a long ass time ago. I think it was 2007 or 2006 going into 2007. And we were all at this club in Chelsea, and John Mayer was aware of me. And I had just hosted MTV New Year's Eve that night, and he rolls up, and I had been there with Christina Aguilera before Christina and I had our falling out. I've had a lot of falling outs with people. Maybe the problem is me.
Wait, before you tell the story, do you know if this was before or after he dated Jen Aniston?
Before.
Yes, I think you're right. Before. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So I had been there with Christina. John rolls up with Jessica and then just comes right at me, and we just start talking. And let me tell you, fascinating conversation. And if you know people, you probably know this to be true.
Yes.
He starts talking to me about gay porn, and specifically about his favorite gay porn star that he loves watching. And I've heard now from multiple people that when John Mayer, at least in the past, I don't know about now, but previously when he would hook up with women, he would watch gay porn. Some people might find that interesting or whatever.
I heard that about Hugh Hefner too.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah.
Juicy. Yeah. I mean, not shocking. He was like a huge,
right,
very open person.
Hey, whatever goes, but he does sort of surprise you when you see him, is such about women, that would be the thing that turned them on.
I bet you my left testicle that John Mayer has at least made out with Andy Cohen, probably repeatedly. I know them both. They have. Anyways, the thing about John Mayer, he is one of those hyper intellectual people.
Right.
He's so smart that he's too smart for his own good, and he oftentimes is his own worst enemy.
I just want to interrupt. Jessica talks about that a lot in her book.
Oh, yeah? I haven't read her book. Yeah.
It made her insecure. Because he was very, kind of critical of if she used the wrong words, or if she tried to write him a text, she'd, have everybody check it and make sure that, just annoying. So, anyway, go on. But I understand. But I do think he's very bright, obviously. But go on.
Yeah. So, all of a sudden, in the midst of our conversation, he just starts kissing me. And not a playful thing like a makeout with tongue. And not short. It was going on for at least a minimum, an accurate, for sure minimum of 5 minutes. So that's a long time. And I'm seeing everything happen outside of my body, and I'm losing my mind. I was only drinking. I don't know what they were doing. They were drinking maybe more. I don't know. While this is all going on, Jessica's with him. It was during her brunette phase, so she had her dark brown hair, and she did not want to see it. So I remember her vividly using her long hair to cover her face so she could pretend to not see what was happening. But while he was doing that, she then started rubbing his dick, and it was just the weirdest thing ever.
Over his pants.
Over his pants. Yeah, over his pants. A few years after that,
and then how did the evening end?
Friendly. After that, John Mayer and I were friends.
No, but was that it? You continued to drink and dance?
Yeah, that's it.
So the party didn't go to another location.
No,
okay.
no.
Yeah,
that was it.
Okay. And then he was friendly too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and then we were friends for a couple of years after that, and I went over to his house or his loft in. Either it was in Soho or Tribeca, I don't remember. One of those. His New York loft a couple times, blah, 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 blah. I forget the year, but John Mayer did a cruise. You know how sometimes celebrities put on their own cruises? He put on this John Mayer cruise, and that was when those iconic photos of him in that green mankini were released.
Oh,
that Borat mankini.
Right.
It was from his cruise. And he also performed in that cruise, and he also did stand-up in that cruise.
I remember this was when he was trying to be a stand-up phase. He was always at the LA Improv, and all into being around comics all the time. And I think he even performed with Dave Chappelle a few times.
Oh,
It's like
yeah. Yeah, that was actually
crazy.
more than a few times.
Yeah.
Like, he does that regularly, like for New Year's Eve. He'll do
Yeah.
that with him. So he did a stand-up set, and he confessed that he did indeed make out with me a few years prior. And it's on video. It's on YouTube if you want to search it. And he basically said, I quote, I wanted to out Perez. Like, he wanted to get into my mind and mind fuck me and out shock me, out whatever me. So that's why in his mind he did what he did. But as a big old flaming homosexual, I don't know any heterosexual man that will tongue kiss for 5 minutes another guy. I'm not saying he's gay, but I'm saying he's not straight either. Okay.
Right. I agree with that. The other part is I went to one of your fabulous parties, one of your fabulous birthday parties, the blue ball one where everyone wore blue dresses.
That was fun.
And I'll post a photo on my Instagram. I don't have a photo with you, unfortunately, but I do have one with Kyle Richards, Camille Grammer, and Taylor Armstrong of Beverly Hills Housewives. And that was a pretty fun party. That was pretty great.
Your parties
were epic.
That year, I had Dita Von Teese perform a burlesque act for me. Darren Criss performed from Glee because I was on Glee and I was also obsessed with the show. Selena Gomez surprised me and came and sang me happy birthday. It was diva. You know, I pinch myself. Like, I still am in shock and disbelief that I've been able to do half of the things that I have because they've gone beyond my wildest dreams. From, you know, being on Glee to opening the circus tour for Britney. I was in the opening video montage, to being in Rihanna's S&M music video, you know, things that will exist forever, that are a part of history.
And so when did things kind of like then change? You kind of said it was when you did the video about It Gets Better for gay teens being bullied. And that's when everybody sort of pointed out the fact that you're being quite hypocritical, being that you've really bullied everybody for 10 years on your website. And so what happened? Was that basically the turning point?
That was the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say, but I had begun already having those thoughts prior to that. You know, I began my blog in September of 2004 and my career as Perez Hilton. And then in January of 2008, I decided to stop being a fat fuck and get on this journey of health and wellness. And I successfully did that. And for me, I've noticed that the healthier I was, the happier I was. That doesn't mean that I was miserable before, but it just meant that I was even happier after I became healthier. So when I became happier, I started having happier thoughts and just thinking, should I change how I do things? And I was having those thoughts for a year and a half, but I was afraid to make that change. I was paralyzed by fear because I had been doing what I had been doing for close to a decade by that point, and I established myself and my brand a certain way. I was just afraid of losing it all and what would happen if I did change. But there came that turning point where I said, you know what? I have to make a change because I've turned into somebody that I know in my heart I'm not. When I started blogging, it was because I'm a fan of celebrities. And internet culture, social media can be and is toxic a lot of times. And if you're in it and you're doing it, it can become progressively even more so and more evil and more nasty. And like, I just did not like who I became, and I lost touch with reality and with myself. You know, I would tell myself and justify my behavior by saying things like, well, I don't care if people don't like me because it's not the real me that they don't like. It's this character that I created. But that's BS because I was writing these words. I was responsible, even though it was this character. And you know, I would say things like, you know, if celebrities don't like what I'm saying, they shouldn't read it. Just like dumb stuff. Like, but it would still get back to them. Even if they didn't read what I had to say, somebody would bring it up in an interview or this or that or the other. So yeah, it was a scary time, but I did it for the right reason. And I don't have any regrets about the change, even though some people might say, oh, it probably did hurt your career. And, it says a lot about humanity that whenever I would post like a leaked sex tape or nudie photos or whatever, people want to see that. People want to see
I
that.
thought what also, when you were honest about the regrets with your business and whatnot, is that you turned down Bad Girls Reunion to host Bad Girls Reunion. Now, did you turn that down because you were thinking it was, again, down that negative road? Or what was the reason for turning it down and regretting that?
So, like I said earlier, when you're really successful and you're making a ton of money and having a ton of opportunities, you naively, and that's your first time experiencing that, you think it's going to be like that forever. And it's not always that way. It's probably not that way for most people. Even the superstars have their ups and downs. Even Jennifer Lopez has had a wave of a career. It's not just been steadily up, 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 up. So I was lucky enough to be asked to host the Bad Girls Club reunion specials. And I did that for many seasons and I enjoyed it. But then I had this change where I didn't want to be so negative anymore. And I felt like the show had really turned, and it went from just being a fun, catty reality show to being really dark.
Yeah.
And the women were being very violent with each other, like really violent. So I quit. Now I regret that because, I want to be doing more television.
Yeah.
Like that's I've done a lot of television, but I've never been blessed with a consistent, steady home on television. And I've achieved so much in my career. I am so blessed to be the original influencer. But if you pair that with traditional media, then you get the Kardashians. There's a reason why Kris Jenner and her family stayed on that show for 14 years.
Right.
Because they were smart enough to know that that was the gas in the car that kept it running and kept all these other opportunities coming their way. And now they're at a point now where they're just billionaires, so they don't really need to keep that show going. But Perez Hilton, on the other hand, doesn't have fuck you money in the bank and has to worry and stress about all of his bills and the 5 people that he supports. My 3 kids, my sister, and my mom. So, it's craziness.
And so besides the book coming out, which there's even more in here, you get into Amy Winehouse, Tila Tequila even a little bit. What was your beef with Charlie D'Amelio from TikTok stardom?
Most of your listeners probably don't even know who she is, but she is the most followed person on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And back in March, she uploaded a video of herself at the beach in a bikini dancing to this song with lyrics that go like this: I can't take big dick, but I'll suck on it, blah, 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 but I'll hop on it. I'm like, okay. And then she was dancing very sexually, and she was 15 at the time. So I asked a question on the video. I said, is this really appropriate? And that's Perez 2020, okay? Perez in 2007 would have probably said something very different, okay? Yeah. But I just said, is this appropriate? And just because I asked that question, her fans ripped me to pieces for months, like sending me death threats.
And these are all kids.
Daily.
These are all teenagers, yeah.
And that made me sad because it's so normalized on that app to send people hate.
Yeah.
And they call, or they don't, I haven't seen, well, thankfully they've either blocked me or ignored me, or maybe they start to like me now. I don't know, but those comments aren't around anymore. They used to call them fairy comments, and they would put these fairies, and then in between the fairies, they would leave you like the most awful sayings, like, you're a baddie, but without the bad. Get it? Die. You're a baddie, but without the bad. And like, what or something like, what zodiac sign are you? I think you're a Cancer. I hope you get it, or some things like that. Like, they would leave comments like that, and it's like, I would hope that it is 11-year-olds and 10-year-olds that see their friends doing this and they think that it's okay. And but you know what? After doing what I do now for 16 years, nothing gets to me. I don't care. And I look to my great fairy godmother in the sky, Joan Rivers, as my ultimate inspiration.
Me too, for sure.
I'm not anywhere near as talented as she was, but I am fucking talented. I am a star, and I'm incredibly hardworking. And this is very true. If anybody wants to succeed in show business, they need to watch her documentary.
Yes, the best.
Because it is so insightful for many reasons. For a long point in my career, back to what you were saying about Oprah, I'm an atheist. I don't think I even mentioned this in the book. I partnered with one of the executive producers of the Oprah Winfrey Show to develop and launch a talk show. We pitched it to everybody and everybody fucking passed. And that's fine, but I didn't give up on that dream. So for a long ass time, for maybe like 5 years, my vision was myopic. It was so laser focused. All that I cared about was a talk show, a panel show, whatever. I deserve a talk show. Why am I not on a talk show? You know, they're launching the talk and the real and blah, blah, blah. And then Joan died. And it's crazy to think that it happened so long ago now. She died in 2014, 6 years ago now. And that was around the time that I was celebrating my 10-year anniversary. So that was just a natural time of reflection for me. But prior to that, my vision was myopic and I was turning down a lot of opportunity, saying stupid shit like, oh, that's lame. That's not cool. That's not good for my brand. Stupidity. Now, my brand is, you want to pay me to do something? I'll fucking do it. I don't give a shit. Same with Joan Rivers.
Oh, never turned down any work. I loved it.
Exactly. And you know, I actually think that having lost so much money in lawsuits and having wasted so much money on stupid shit like a fancy car that I didn't need or the fancy house that I didn't need, and having Interior Illusions, who does the decor on Drag Race, decorate my house, decorate my old house, you know, I didn't need any of that. But having done all of that, like, it now helps me say yes to more because I need to say yes to more. Necessity is keeping you hungry and keeping you out there and keeping you pushing and keeping me motivated and keeping me working and grinding as hard as I do. If I had my fuck you money in the bank, I probably would be forgotten about by now, and I probably wouldn't care because I'd be like, oh, whatever, I'm loaded, I don't care.
Or if you had that fuck you money, maybe you wouldn't be happy. Maybe you'd be.
I would.
Maybe you'd be finding. I don't know, but if you weren't really doing anything, I'm saying, if you had so much money that it kept you from doing something, you don't know. I'm just saying.
Oh no, I would be the opposite. If I had fuck you money, if I had Kardashian money, I'm an addict. People who are addicts are addicts. I'm not addicted to drugs or alcohol, but I'm addicted to food. And thankfully, I've got that under control now. And I'm also addicted to work. In my mind, I think, well, it would help. If I had fuck you money, I would still be addicted to work, but at least I wouldn't be afraid of taking a vacation. I would still work like the workaholic that I do, but I'd be like, all right, I'm not going to take a week-long vacation and not check my phone and not be available at all. The last vacation I had was in January when I did this Australian reality show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And they put me in the fucking jungle and buried me in the ground with 100 snakes. That was a vacation because I didn't have my laptop or my cell phone glued to me. Other than that, I'm working all the time and I'm being a father to 3 kids. So, you know, like I said at the very beginning of our show, I'm wonderful because my book is out and I'm so happy for people to read it and I'm so proud of it. But I'm also like, my body is falling apart because for the last week and a half, I've been getting less than 4 hours of sleep a night. That's not healthy.
Why? Because you're so anticipating the launch?
I have so much to...
Oh.
No, I just have so much work to do.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing tons of press. Like, yesterday I did the Spanish language show. And in addition to all of the press and, like, even just, like, social media is work.
Yeah.
Like, my publisher gave me, like, Yeah, my publisher gave me a publishing schedule. Like on this day, you should publish this. And then, okay, I got to publish it on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on Tumblr, on Facebook,
Right.
on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Like that takes so much time. And my podcast takes time and everything. So it's like, if I had my fuck you money, I would still work as hard as I do because it's in my DNA. I have to thank my parents and being Latino, being the son of immigrants for my success because they came to this country from Cuba with nothing and made something of themselves. And my parents instilled in me that incredible work ethic from day one. And it wasn't just to work hard. I remember my dad, may he rest in peace, he told me and my mom that I didn't have to just work hard. I had to work harder than everybody else. The bar was so high for me that if I ever got a B plus, my parents were disappointed. They expected me to be a straight A student, and I was, thankfully. And my kids, I kind of am the same way. And I've told my kids, I will love you and support you when you're grown up, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, with one exception. You can't be lazy.
Right.
I will not tolerate or accept laziness because I am not going to make shit happen for them. Once my kids are graduated from college, whatever little money I have left, this bitch here is going to use up all that money before I die. I will start getting massages again. I will start traveling internationally again and treating myself.
So let me ask you one more question before I let you go. Where are you still friendly with Lindsay Lohan?
Very much so. We still talk and DM, and she's still just as wackadoodle as ever. And I love that about her.
And where is she now? Do you know?
Actually, oh my God, I'll give you, oh my God. I'll tell you some exclusive, I'll show you.
Some
I'll show you
exclusive juicy scoop. Give it to me.
Yeah. You know, people may be surprised by this, but I love to help people. And I am an idea person. Like my brain is so if I had my fuck you money, I would be launching TV shows for myself and for others. Right. I'd give you a show. I'd give this chef that I follow on TikTok a show. I'd be like creating my own network and doing all these things. I'd be doing musical theater just for shits and giggles because I have fuck you money in the bank. So I have all these ideas. I emailed Lindsay. Let me look it up so I could actually, well, is it kind of rude? It'd be kind of rude to actually show the DMs, but I'll paraphrase it.
You can paraphrase
anyway,
it. That's good. Okay.
So I just had this idea. I was like, Lindsay, you should either tweet or do an Instagram story or a post or something about Paris's documentary and congratulate her because that would get you press. And she's like, well, I haven't watched it. And I'm like, well, fucking watch it. Or just say something, or just congratulate her. You don't have to fucking watch it. Just congratulate her. So she didn't do it, but that was a good idea.
It was.
I would have given her some, yes. So she didn't listen to me.
It is a good idea.
I love helping
don't realize
people.
That, you know.
I know.
But I'm glad that she's friendly. I've met her a few times too. I haven't spent a few years since I've seen her, but I hope she's doing well.
Here's another funny thing too. Right before the pandemic, she called me and I didn't know the number, so I don't answer any number that I don't know.
Right.
But like I told you, I was getting ready to do this Australian TV show, which I ended up doing. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and it was an Australian number. So I thought, oh, maybe somebody from the show is calling me. So I was with my sister at the time. I gave her the phone and I said, answer it, because I didn't want to answer it just in case it was like my number leaked or whatever. And she's like, she puts it on pause and she says, it's Lindsay Lohan. I'm like, what? So I answer the phone and I start talking to her and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to be in town in a few months and I'm doing this short film and I want you to come on set and I want to do something exclusive with you because we have history. And I was like, okay, cool, fabulous. And then I hung up and I'm like, that was weird as fuck. Like, why are you calling me in January about something that's going to go down in May or was supposed to go down in May? Like, why not call me 2 weeks before you're in town? Just let me know about your short film or whatever. Like, I don't know. It was just weird. She's still wonderfully weird.
And then obviously, so that didn't happen because there was no filming in May. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it didn't happen. But you know, the same thing with Britney, the same thing with Lindsay, even the same thing with Paris. I grew up with these girls, and I'm rooting for them. You want to see them happy and successful, and I wish that for them. I wish that for Lady Gaga. I wish that for you. I wish that even for Chelsea Handler. In my opinion.
On that note, this is the book, everybody. A crazy ass cover, but good. Show off your good body. I like it. TMI, My Life in Scandal, Perez Hilton. It is out today, Tuesday, October 6th, correct? This is when this is airing. And did you do an audiobook as well?
I did.
That's great.
And I was so... It was like a roller coaster. Like, I had been away from the text for a few months, so then reading it out loud, I started crying. Like,
and obviously, podcast listeners, love to do audio too. So if you don't, want to read the book on the hardcover or on your Kindle or computer, you can get the audio version as well. And lots of juice, so much more juice. And I love, we get his childhood and some good stories about that and your early days in New York working for Star Magazine. So much that I don't want to give it all away because I want you guys to buy the book and read or listen to Perez. And it was great talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me on.